Hey there, champions. Welcome back to another Read Aloud. We are back with Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing by Judy Blume. We're on chapter 8, The TV Star, and this is part 3. So here we go. The mothers who were waiting packed up their kids and left right away. Mr. Vincent took off with Fudge in his arms. Janet chased him. She called, "But Mr. Vincent, you don't understand." I ran after Janet. Mr. Vincent carried Fudge into the other room. He announced, "I found him myself, the perfect kid to ride the toddle bike in my new commercial." Mr. Vincent put Fudge down and took the cigar out of his mouth. There were 2 other men in the room. One of them was Mr. Denberg. The other one was my father. "Hi, Daddy," Fudge said. "George," my father told Mr. Vincent, "this is my son. He's no actor or model. He can't make your toddle bike commercial." "He doesn't have to be an actor or model. He's perfect the way he is," Mr. Vincent insisted. "Now look, George, we want to make the best possible commercial for your company, but Fudge can't be the boy to ride the toddle bike." "Now you listen, Hatcher," Mr. Vincent raised his voice. I wondered why he called my father Hatcher, just like Mr. Yarby did. Mr. Vincent pointed to Fudge. "Either that kid rides my toddle bike or I take my account to another advertising agency. It's that simple." My father looked at Mr. Denberg. "It's your decision, Warren," Mr. Denberg told my father. "I don't want to be the one to tell you what to do." My father picked up Fudge and held him on his lap. "Would you like to ride the toddle bike, Fudge? It's just like the one you have at home." "Why are you asking him?" I said. "What does he know about making commercials?" My father acted like he'd forgotten I was even around. "I'm thinking, Peter," he said. "Please be quiet." "Well, Hatcher," Mr. Vincent said, "what'll it be? This kid of yours, or do I move to another agency?" I remembered how my father lost the Juicio account because of Fudge. Now maybe he'd lose this one too, and I don't think he could afford that. Finally, my father said, "All right, George, you can use him. On one condition, though." "What's that, Hatcher?" Mr. Vincent asked. "The commercial has to be made this afternoon. After today, my son Fudge won't be available." "That's fine with me, Hatcher," Mr. Vincent said. "Is he going to get paid?" I asked my father. "I'll worry about that, Peter," my father said. That probably meant yes. He'd be paid and have lots of money in the bank. I'd have nothing. And someday I'd have to borrow from him. No, wait a minute. Never. I'll never borrow money from Fudge. I'll starve first. "Can I at least watch when you make the commercial?" I asked. "Certainly," my father said. "You can watch the whole thing." I turned to Mr. Denberg. "Will Fudge be famous?" I asked. No, not famous, but a lot of people will think he looks familiar," Mr. Denberg said. I turned to Mr. Vincent. Do you know he has no front top teeth?" "That's part of his charm," Mr. Vincent said. "And he cut off all his hair 2 months ago?" "Well, he looks fine now," Mr. Vincent said. "And he can't even talk in long sentences?" I told everyone in the room. "He doesn't have to say a word," Mr. Vincent told me. I couldn't think of any other reason why Mr. Vincent shouldn't use Fudge in his toddle bike commercial. It was settled. Soon, Fudge would be a famous television star, and I would be plain old Peter Hatcher, 4th grade nothing. "Let's begin right after lunch," Mr. Denberg said. "We should get it filmed in about 2 hours." While my father and Mr. Denberg worked out all the arrangements, I asked Janet where the men's room was. She walked me to it. I told her thank you and that she didn't have to wait. I'd find my own way back. When I was safely inside, I looked at myself in the mirror. I wish Fudge had never been born, I thought. Everything good always happens to him. If he had to be born, I wish he could be 9 or 10 like me. Then Mr. Vincent wouldn't want him to be the one to ride the toddle bike in his commercial. Janet set down sent down to the coffee shop for some sandwiches and drinks. After we ate, we all walked to another section of the agency where the cameras were set up. A make-believe street scene was the background. The toggle bike was shiny red. My father told Fudge all he had to do was ride it around. Fudge liked that. He zoomed all over the place. Vroom, 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 he called. My father, Mr. Vincent, and Janet sat on folding chairs and watched the action. I sat on the floor at my father's side. Mr. Denberg was the director. He said, "Okay, Fudge, we're ready to begin now. You ride the toddle bike where I tell you, and I'll take a picture of you doing it, all right?" "No," Fudge said. "What does he mean, Hatcher?" Mr. Vincent asked. "Why did he say no?" My father groaned. "Look, George, using Fudge was your idea, not mine." Mr. Denberg tried again. "Okay, Fudge, this is it," the cameraman said. "Start riding this way. Ready, set, go." Fudge sat there on the toddle bike, but he wouldn't pedal. "Come on, kid, let's go," the cameraman called. "No, don't want to go." "Don't want to," Fudge answered. "What's with this kid, Mr. Hatcher?" the cameraman asked. "Fudge," my father said, "do what the nice man tells you. Do what the nice man tells you to." "No, don't have to." Janet whispered to my father, "How about some cookies, Mr. Hatcher?" "Great idea, Janet," my father told her. "I have some Oreos right here," she said, patting her pocketbook. "Shall I give them to him?" "One at a time," my father said. And I'm going to stop there. We shall see what happens next time. Fudge is a funny kid. And poor Peter. I'm sure he wishes he was the one on the toddle bike. He'd follow directions and the commercial would already be done. I hope you enjoyed that story. Have a wonderful night. Sleep well. I should say, I hope you enjoyed that part of the story because we're still not done. Have a wonderful night. Sleep well, sweet dreams, and I will see you all next time. Take care of yourselves. Good night.